The sapphire caught the light as I fastened the clasp, and for a moment, I forgot to breathe. It was the most beautiful thing I'd ever worn. Delicate silver chain, a pendant shaped like a teardrop, the blue stone so deep it looked like captured ocean. I tilted my head in the mirror, watching it rest against my collarbone, and smiled. It had been so long since anyone had given me something just because. Not for a birthday, not for Christmas, just because they'd thought of me. The gallery opening started in 20 minutes, and I was already running late, but I couldn't stop staring at this small, precious thing that made me feel seen. I grabbed my clutch and headed for the door, unaware that this beautiful gift would detonate my entire world before the night ended. If you're enjoying this story so far, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Drop a comment telling me where in the world you're watching from. I love hearing from you. The car was waiting downstairs, as it always was. Matteo stood by the passenger door, his expression carefully neutral as I approached. He'd been my assigned driver and bodyguard for 3 months now, ever since Luca Santoro decided I needed constant protection. Ever since I'd become his, though we'd never defined what that meant. We weren't dating, not officially. We weren't lovers, though the tension between us crackled like lightning before a storm. We were something undefined and dangerous, caught in the space between his world and mine, and I was terrified of what would happen when that space finally collapsed. "You look beautiful, Miss Aria," Matteo said, opening the door. His eyes flickered to the necklace, and something crossed his face. Concern, maybe. Or warning. But it vanished before I could read it properly. "Thank you, Matteo." I slid into the back seat, checking my phone. 2 missed calls from Luca, both within the last 10 minutes. My stomach tightened. He never called twice unless something was wrong. Unless he was checking on me. Unless the invisible leash he kept me on had pulled taut and he needed to know exactly where I was, who I was with, what I was doing. I called him back as Matteo pulled into traffic. He answered on the first ring. "Where are you?" His voice was rough, like he'd been drinking or hadn't slept. Probably both. "On my way to the gallery. The opening starts at 7. Silence. "Then, you're wearing that black dress? The one I sent?" Heat crept up my neck. The dress hung in my closet, tag still attached. Beautiful, expensive, and completely wrong for tonight's event. Too formal, too much his taste instead of mine. "I'm wearing the navy one. The gallery is casual, remember?" Another pause, weighted with something I couldn't name. "I'll meet you there." "Luca, you don't have to, I'll meet you there, Aria." Not a request. Never a request with him. 30 minutes. He hung up before I could respond. I stared at my phone, at the blank screen where his name had been, and felt the familiar cocktail of frustration and longing that defined everything between us. Luca Santoro had crashed into my life 6 months ago at a fundraiser I'd been catering. I was nobody, just another struggling artist waitressing to pay rent, serving champagne to people who'd never see me as anything but hired help. He'd seen me, though. Those slate-gray eyes had locked onto mine across the ballroom, and something had shifted in the universe. He'd cornered me by the kitchen, asked my name, taken my number without asking permission. Called me the next day. And the day after. And the day after that. 3 weeks later, he'd shown up at my studio apartment with 2 guards and a car, informing me that I was moving. Not asking. Informing. Someone had been following me, he'd said. Someone from a rival family who'd seen us together and decided I was leverage. I needed protection, and he would provide it. The penthouse apartment he'd arranged was in a building he owned, with security I couldn't begin to afford. I'd argued, of course. Told him I could take care of myself, that I didn't need saving, that this was too much too fast. He'd looked at me with those cold, beautiful eyes and said, "You're mine to protect now." That's not negotiable. I should have run. Should have told him to take his alpha male possessiveness and his dangerous world and leave me alone. Instead, I'd packed my few belongings and let him relocate my entire life. Because underneath the orders and the control, I'd seen something else. The way his hands had trembled slightly when he'd touched my face. The fear beneath the command when he'd explained the danger. This man who controlled an empire with ruthless precision was terrified of losing me, and I was stupid enough to find that romantic. 3 months in his orbit, and I still didn't fully understand what he did. Business, he'd say when I asked. Import-export, investments, family legacy. But I wasn't naive. Men like Luca, with their armed guards and their careful conversations and their enemies lurking in shadows, they didn't make their money legitimately. I knew what he was, even if he never said it out loud. And God help me, I was falling for him anyway. The gallery was in the Arts District, a renovated warehouse with exposed brick and industrial lighting. My friend Natasha had finally gotten her first solo show, and I'd promised months ago I'd be there opening night. Inside, the space was already crowded with art collectors, critics, and the usual gallery crowd in their calculated casual attire. Natasha found me immediately, pulling me into a hug that smelled like her signature jasmine perfume and nervous excitement. You came. I was so worried you'd cancel. She pulled back, looking me over. You look gorgeous. New dress? New necklace, actually. I touched it self-consciously. Gift from a friend. Her eyebrows rose. Must be a good friend. That's real sapphire, isn't it? I think so. He has good taste. He? Natasha's smile turned knowing. Not from your mysterious boyfriend, then? Luca isn't my boyfriend. The lie tasted bitter. And no, it's from someone else. Just a friend. A friend who gives you real sapphires. She shook her head, laughing. I need better friends. Come on, let me show you the pieces before the serious collectors descend. We moved through the gallery, and I tried to focus on Natasha's work. Her paintings were stunning, abstract landscapes that felt like emotions given form. But I kept glancing at the door, waiting for Luca to arrive, anxiety building with each passing minute. He'd said 30 minutes. It had been 45. Aria, darling. I turned to find Julian Shin approaching, champagne glass in hand, smile bright against his tailored suit. Julian was another artist, someone I'd met at a workshop 2 years ago. We'd stayed friendly, occasionally grabbing coffee, critiquing each other's work. He was talented, charming, and completely safe. Everything Luca wasn't. Julian. I didn't know you'd be here. Wouldn't miss it. Natasha's brilliant. He kissed my cheek, European style, lingering just slightly too long. You look radiant. Is that the necklace I sent? My stomach dropped. You sent this? 2 weeks ago. Didn't you get my note? His smile faltered slightly. I saw it in an antique shop and immediately thought of you. That blue matches your eyes. The room suddenly felt too hot. I touched the necklace, this gift I'd thought was innocent, and realized the trap I'd walked into. Julian, I didn't realize it was from you. I thought there was no note in the box. Must have fallen out. These things happen. He stepped closer, and I caught the scent of his cologne, expensive and woody. I'm glad you're wearing it, though. It suits you perfectly. Julian, I can't accept this. It's too expensive, too, nonsense. It's just a gift between friends. But his eyes said something different. His eyes said he wanted to be more than friends, that he'd been wanting that for a while, and I'd been too distracted by Luca to notice. Who's your friend, Aria? The voice came from behind me, low and dangerous. I froze, every muscle in my body tensing. I knew that tone. Had heard it once before when a waiter at a restaurant had been too familiar, too friendly. Luca had been calm, polite even, but there'd been murder in his eyes. I turned slowly. Luca stood 3 feet away, flanked by Matteo and another guard I didn't recognize. He wore all black, suit, shirt, even his tie, and looked like death dressed for dinner. His gray eyes were fixed on the necklace at my throat, and the temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. Luca. You made it. My voice came out steadier than I felt. This is Julian Chin. He's an artist. Julian, this is Luca Santoro. Julian extended his hand. Luca looked at it like it was diseased, made no move to take it. The silence stretched, awkward and loaded with threat. Julian dropped his hand, smile faltering. Nice to meet you, Mr. Santoro. I've heard a lot about you. Have you? Not a question. Luca's attention returned to me, to the necklace. That's new. Yes. It's beautiful. He reached out, fingers brushing the sapphire. The touch was gentle, but his eyes were ice. Expensive. Real sapphire, platinum setting, antique craftsmanship. Probably worth 15,000-20,000. His gaze lifted to Julian. Quite a gift for a friend. Julian's smile was tight now, sensing danger. I thought it suited her. Did you? Luca's hand moved from the necklace to my collarbone, possessive, claiming. Arya, we need to talk. Excuse us. Luca, wait, now, Arya. His fingers tightened slightly on my shoulder. Not painful, but firm. Unyielding. We'll continue this conversation in private. He guided me toward a back hallway, past the bathrooms and storage area, to a small office that must belong to the gallery owner. The door closed behind us with quiet finality. Matteo took up position outside, ensuring no one would interrupt. Inside, Luca released me and turned, his control fracturing. Who gave you that necklace? Julian. He's just a friend who gives you $20,000 jewelry? His voice rose slightly, the first crack in his composure. A friend who looks at you like he wants to own you? He doesn't look at me like anything. We're friends. That's all. Take it off. I stared at him. Excuse me? Take it off. He stepped closer, crowding me against the desk. Right now, Arya. Take it off, or I will. Anger flared hot in my chest. You don't get to tell me what to wear. I do when another man is putting jewelry on you. His hand came up, fingers grazing the chain. When another man is marking you as his. That's not what this is. Isn't it? His laugh was bitter. A man doesn't give a woman something this expensive unless he wants something in return. Unless he's making a statement. Unless he's trying to take what's mine. I'm not yours. The words exploded out of me, months of frustration and confusion boiling over. You've never asked me to be yours. You've never defined what we are. You just give orders and expect me to obey, surround me with guards and move me around like a chess piece, but you've never once said what I actually am to you. You want to know what you are to me? He grabbed my face, forcing me to meet his eyes. You're everything, Arya. You're the first thing I think about when I wake up and the last thing before I sleep. You're the reason I can't focus in meetings, the reason I've made enemies because I won't negotiate away your safety. You're mine in every way that matters, and the fact that another man thinks he can claim you with gifts makes me want to burn this entire gallery to the ground. My breath caught. In 3 months, he'd never said anything like this. Never been this raw, this honest. Then why? My voice broke. Why haven't you said any of this before? Because I'm dangerous, Arya. His thumb brushed my cheekbone, the touch heartbreakingly gentle. Because people who get close to me end up hurt or dead. Because you deserve better than a man whose hands are stained with blood, who makes his money in ways you can never know about, who has enemies that would use you to destroy me. His forehead pressed against mine. But I'm too selfish to let you go. Too addicted to the way you look at me like I'm not a monster. So yes, you're mine. You've been mine since the moment I saw you. And I don't share. I'm not some possession, I know. He cut me off. You're not a possession. You're a choice. My choice. Every single day, I choose you over common sense, over safety, over everything I know is right. And I need you to choose me back. Fully. Completely. No more accepting gifts from other men. No more pretending we're not what we are. And what are we, Luca? I searched his eyes. Say it. No more vague statements. Tell me what you want. You. Just you. His lips brushed mine, barely a kiss. Be mine. Officially, publicly, no more ambiguity. Be my girlfriend, my partner, mine. Let me claim you properly instead of this half-life we've been living. What about the danger? What about your world? I'll protect you. His voice was fierce. With everything I have, with every resource, with my life if necessary. But I can't protect you if you won't let me. If you keep accepting gifts from other men, if you keep pretending we're not together. He pulled back slightly. Take off the necklace, Arya. Please. Let me buy you something that means what it should mean. Let me put my mark on you instead of his. I reached up with trembling fingers, unclasping the chain. The sapphire pooled in my palm, catching the light one last time before I set it on the desk. It was just a gift. He didn't mean, he meant exactly what I would have meant. Luca took the necklace, examining it with cold precision. A beautiful, expensive gift to show he has taste, has means, can provide for you. It's how men like us operate. We don't ask with words. We ask with gestures. With proof we can give you things no one else can. He pocketed the necklace. I'll return this to Mr. Chen. Along with a message that you're not available for his gifts anymore. Luca, you can't threaten him, I'm not going to threaten him. His smile was sharp. I'm going to be very polite and very clear that you're taken. What he does with that information is his choice, but if he's smart, he'll accept it gracefully. Before I could argue further, he kissed me. Really kissed me, not the chaste brushes we'd shared before. This was claiming, possessive, full of months of restraint breaking free. His hands tangled in my hair, angling my head for better access, and I melted into him despite everything. Despite the jealousy and the control issues and the danger. Because underneath it all, I wanted this. Wanted him. Wanted to belong to someone who looked at me like I was precious and terrifying in equal measure. When we broke apart, both breathing hard, he rested his forehead against mine. Say yes, Arya. Be mine. Let me stop pretending I'm not completely gone for you. If you're hooked on this story, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Your support means everything and helps me bring you more emotional stories like this one. This is insane, I whispered. You're possessive and controlling and dangerous. I know. You'll probably get me killed. I'll die before I let that happen. You drive me absolutely crazy. The feeling is mutual. His thumb traced my lower lip. Say yes anyway. I looked into those gray eyes, at the vulnerability hiding beneath the command, and made my choice. Yes. I'm yours. But Luca, I pressed my hand against his chest, feeling his heart race beneath my palm. This goes both ways. If I'm yours, you're mine. No more keeping me in the dark. No more making decisions about my life without me. We're partners, or we're nothing. Something flickered in his expression. Surprise, maybe, or respect. Partners, he agreed. I'll try. My instinct is to protect you by controlling everything, but I'll try to remember you're not fragile. I'm not fragile. I just need honesty. Then honestly, he reached into his jacket, pulling out a small velvet box. I've been carrying this for 2 weeks, waiting for the right moment. Apparently, the right moment is when I'm half insane with jealousy in a gallery office. My breath caught. Luca, what is that? Open it. Inside was a necklace that made Julian's gift look like costume jewelry. A diamond pendant, surrounded by smaller stones, hanging from a delicate white gold chain. The center stone was easily 3 carats, flawless and brilliant, catching light like captured stars. It's too much, I breathed, even as my heart raced. It's not enough. Nothing would be enough. He took the necklace from the box, moving behind me. But it's a start. My mark instead of his. My claim instead of anyone else's. The chain settled against my skin, cold metal warming from my body heat. His fingers fastened the clasp, lingering on my neck. There. Now everyone will know you're taken. I touched the diamond, watching it sparkle in the mirror across the room. It was beautiful. Excessive. Completely Luca. People are going to ask questions. Let them. You're my girlfriend now. They can ask all the questions they want. He turned me to face him, hands framing my face. We should probably return to the gallery. Your friend's opening, and we've been gone too long. What are you going to say to Julian? Nothing threatening, he assured me, though his smile suggested otherwise. Just a friendly conversation between men. I'll return his gift, thank him for his thoughtfulness, and make it clear you're no longer available for his attentions. Luca, I'll be polite, Arya. I promise. No violence, no threats, just clarity. He kissed my forehead. Trust me. That was the thing, though. I did trust him. Trusted that he'd protect me, trusted his feelings were genuine, even trusted his possessiveness came from fear of losing me rather than actual desire to control me. But trusting Luca Santoro meant accepting his world, his methods, his way of handling problems. And his way usually involved making people disappear or decide cooperation was healthier than resistance. We returned to the gallery together, his hand firm on my back. Julian was still there, chatting with other guests, but his eyes found us immediately. Found the new necklace at my throat. His expression shifted, understanding dawning. Luca excused himself, approaching Julian with that predatory grace that made people step back instinctively. I watched from across the room as they spoke, Luca's body language casual but clearly dominant, Julian's becoming increasingly uncomfortable. At one point, Luca pulled the sapphire necklace from his pocket, held it out. Julian took it with visible reluctance. The conversation lasted maybe 3 minutes. When it ended, Julian nodded once, glanced at me with something like resignation, and left the gallery. Just walked out of his friend's opening without another word. Luca returned to my side, slipping his hand into mine. All settled. What did you say to him? That you're my girlfriend. That I appreciated his gift but you wouldn't be keeping it. That I hoped there were no hard feelings but you were unavailable for future gifts or attention. His thumb rubbed circles on my palm. He understood perfectly. He left, Luca. He just walked out. He was uncomfortable. Better he leaves than stays and creates awkwardness. He pulled me closer, unconcerned. Stop worrying about him. He'll be fine. His pride is hurt, but he'll recover. Natasha appeared at my elbow, eyes wide. What the hell just happened? Julian practically ran out of here. Misunderstanding, I said weakly. About the necklace. Her gaze dropped to the diamond at my throat, and her eyebrows rose. That's... Arya, that's a fortune. I know. Your not boyfriend has excellent taste. She looked at Luca, assessing. You are the mysterious boyfriend, right? The one she won't talk about? I am. Luca extended his hand, finally. Luca Santoro. And she's not my girlfriend anymore. As of about 10 minutes ago, she's officially mine. Heat flooded my face. Luca. What? It's true. He looked completely unrepentant. Should I not tell people? Natasha laughed, delighted. I like him. He's direct. She squeezed my arm. We'll talk later. I need to schmooze the collectors, but you're telling me everything. She disappeared into the crowd, leaving us alone in our bubble of new relationship tension. You're impossible, I told Luca. You said yes anyway. He pulled me close, uncaring about the public display. Dance with me. There's no music. There's always music. And sure enough, as if he'd planned it, soft jazz began filtering through the gallery speakers. Natasha must have arranged it, but in that moment, it felt like Luca had orchestrated everything. Like he controlled even the soundtrack of our lives. We swayed together in the middle of the gallery, surrounded by art and people and the life I'd built before him. But I wasn't that person anymore. Wasn't the struggling artist waitressing to survive. I was Aria Moretti, girlfriend of Luca Santoro, wearing a diamond that cost more than I used to make in a year, protected by guards and living in a penthouse and stepping into a world I'd never imagined. Terrifying. Intoxicating. Inevitable. What happens now? I asked against his chest. Now you let me take care of you. Let me spoil you. Let me love you without pretending I don't. His hand tightened on my waist. And you keep being exactly who you are. The light in my darkness. The thing I protect above everything else. That's a lot of pressure. You can handle it. He kissed my temple. You're stronger than you think, Aria. Strong enough to love a man like me. Strong enough to survive my world. I hoped he was right. Because I'd just committed to something I couldn't take back. To a man who saw me as his, who'd made that clear to anyone who might challenge it, who wore his possessiveness like armor. And despite every warning bell, despite every rational thought, I wanted it. Wanted him. Wanted to be his in all the ways that terrified me. The necklace felt heavy against my collarbone. His mark. His claim. His promise. And I wore it willingly, walking into the fire with my eyes wide open. The first 2 weeks of being Luca's official girlfriend felt like living in a dream that occasionally turned into a nightmare. He was attentive in ways I'd never experienced, showing up at my studio with coffee, stealing me away for lunch, calling just to hear my voice. But the dream had edges. Sharp ones. Like the night I woke at 3 a.m. to find his side of the bed empty, and discovered him in his office with blood on his knuckles and a coldness in his eyes that made me afraid to ask questions. Or the morning I overheard him on the phone speaking in rapid Italian, his voice lethal, and caught the word, eliminate, repeated 3 times. He'd noticed me in the doorway and switched to English mid-sentence, smile appearing like he'd flipped a switch, but I'd already heard enough to understand that the man who kissed me tenderly was also capable of ordering someone's death before breakfast. I was painting in my studio when Matteo appeared in the doorway, expression grim. Miss Aria, we need to leave. Now. What? Why? I set down my brush, alarm spiking. What's wrong? Mr. Santoro's orders. There's been a situation. We're moving you to a secure location until it's resolved. A situation? What kind of, now, Miss Aria? His hand moved to his weapon, and I realized this wasn't a request. Pack a bag. 5 minutes. Essentials only. Fear crystallized in my chest. In 5 minutes, I was in the back of an SUV with Matteo and 2 other guards, racing through the city toward an address I didn't recognize. My hands shook as I tried calling Luca. Straight to voicemail. I tried again. Same result. Where is he? I demanded. Where's Luca? Handling the threat. Matteo's eyes met mine in the rearview mirror. That's all I can tell you. That's not enough. What threat? Is he in danger? Is someone coming after me? He's protecting you. That's what matters. We arrived at a property I'd never seen before, a brownstone in a quiet neighborhood that looked completely ordinary from the outside. Inside was anything but. Security cameras covered every angle, reinforced doors, windows with bulletproof glass. A safe house, I realized. This was where Luca hid things he wanted to protect. The next 6 hours were torture. Matteo and his team swept the building, checked perimeters, monitored feeds. I sat in a bedroom on the 2nd floor, still in my paint-stained clothes, watching my phone and praying for it to ring. When it finally did, I nearly dropped it in my rush to answer. Luca? Are you safe? His voice was rough, strained. Are you with Matteo? Yes, I'm fine. What's happening? Where are you? Taking care of something. Background noise filtered through, voices shouting in Italian, what might have been gunfire. I need you to stay where you are until I come get you. Don't leave for any reason. Don't open the door for anyone except me or Matteo. Do you understand? Luca, you're scaring me. Good. Be scared. It'll keep you careful. A pause, and when he spoke again, his voice was softer. I'm sorry, Bella. This isn't what I wanted for you. But someone made a move against me, and they know about you now. They know what you mean to me, and that makes you a target. My blood ran cold. Who? Who knows about me? Doesn't matter. I'm handling it. More shouts in the background. I have to go. Stay safe. I love you. The line went dead. I stared at my phone, heart racing, those last 3 words echoing in my head. He'd never said that before. Never put it into words. And he'd said it while in the middle of some kind of battle, like he thought he might not get another chance. I couldn't just sit there. Couldn't pace the bedroom like a caged animal while Luca was out there fighting. I found Matteo in the kitchen, monitoring a laptop showing multiple security feeds. I need to know what's happening, I said, voice steadier than I felt. Tell me the truth. All of it. He looked up, conflict clear on his face. Mr. Santoro isn't here. And I'm not a child to be protected from reality. If someone's coming after me, I deserve to know why. Matteo studied me for a long moment, then made a decision. Marco Baldini. He runs the Baldini family, controls territory on the east side. He and Mr. Santoro have been in negotiations over shipping routes for months, but talks broke down last week. Baldini wanted a larger cut. Mr. Santoro refused. So this is about money? It's about respect. About power. Baldini thought he could pressure Mr. Santoro by making threats against you. His expression darkened. He sent photos to Mr. Santoro's phone this morning. Photos of you at the gallery, at your studio, walking to your car. A message that you're vulnerable. That Baldini could reach you whenever he wanted. Nausea rolled through me. Someone had been following me, photographing me, planning God knows what. What is Luca doing right now? What he has to do. Sending a message back that you're untouchable. That anyone who threatens you doesn't live long enough to regret it. You mean I couldn't finish the sentence. I mean he's protecting what's his. The only way men like Baldini understand. Matteo's voice was matter-of-fact. This is the world you're in now, Miss Aria. People don't have conversations or file lawsuits. They make examples. They create fear. Because fear is the only thing that keeps you safe. I sank into a chair, the reality of what I'd stepped into crashing over me. I'd known Luca was dangerous. Known his world was violent. But knowing abstractly and facing it directly were completely different things. Somewhere in the city, Luca was doing terrible things. Hurting people, maybe killing them, all because Marco Baldini had taken photos of me. All because loving me had made me a weakness someone thought they could exploit. Does it ever stop? I asked quietly. The threats, the violence, the fear? No. Matteo's honesty was brutal. You're with Luca Santoro. That means you'll always be a target. Always be leverage someone thinks they can use. The only thing that changes is how effectively he protects you. I don't want people to die because of me. They're not dying because of you. They're dying because they made the mistake of threatening what belongs to him. He closed his laptop, looking at me with something like sympathy. You need to decide if you can live with that. If you can love a man who will burn down the world to keep you safe. Because once you're in this deep, there's no walking away unchanged. Luca arrived just after midnight. I heard the SUV pull up, heard his voice in the hallway speaking to Matteo, then footsteps on the stairs. The bedroom door opened, and there he was. Suit jacket gone, shirt partially unbuttoned, exhaustion etched into every line of his face. And blood. Not much, just a spray across his collar, but enough. Are you hurt? I crossed the room, hands reaching for him, checking for injuries. Not mine. He caught my hands, stilling them. I'm fine. Are you? Physically, yes. I met his eyes. But Luca, Matteo told me everything. About Baldini, about the photos, about what you did tonight. His expression hardened. He shouldn't have. I asked. I demanded. Don't be angry with him. I pulled my hands free, stepping back. Is it over? Is Baldini, he's handled. He won't be a problem anymore. Luca's voice was flat, emotionless. Neither will anyone else who thinks they can use you against me. How many people died tonight? Don't ask questions you don't want answers to. I want answers. The words exploded out of me. I need to understand what I'm part of. What being with you actually means. It means you're protected. That's all you need to understand. It's not. I was shaking now, adrenaline and fear and anger colliding. People are dead because someone took pictures of me. Dead, Luca. And you're standing there covered in blood like it's nothing, like this is just another Tuesday for you. It is just another Tuesday. He moved closer, voice dangerous. This is my world, Arya. This is what I am. I told you I was dangerous, that people who get close to me end up hurt. Did you think that was metaphor? Did you think I was exaggerating? I thought, my voice broke. I don't know what I thought. That maybe love would be enough. That we could find some way to be together without all this violence. There is no version of this where I'm not who I am. His hands framed my face, forcing me to look at him. I run an organization built on fear and respect. I make decisions that end lives. I do terrible things to protect what's mine. And you're mine, Arya. That means I will do whatever it takes, hurt whoever I have to, burn down anything that threatens you. If you can't accept that, if you need me to be someone softer, someone safer, then we're done. Because I can't change. Won't change. This is who I am. Tears streamed down my face. I'm scared. I know. His thumb brushed my cheek. But are you scared of me, or scared for me? The question hung between us. Was I afraid Luca would hurt me? Or was I terrified that loving him meant watching him walk into danger, knowing people wanted him dead, accepting that any day could be the day he didn't come home? Both, I whispered. I'm scared of what you're capable of. And I'm terrified of losing you. You won't lose me. His forehead pressed against mine. I'm too mean to die. Too stubborn to let anyone take me from you. You can't promise that. Watch me. He kissed me, and I tasted desperation beneath the possession. I've survived this long because I'm smarter and more ruthless than everyone else. Because I see threats before they materialize and I eliminate them without hesitation. Baldini thought he could pressure me through you. Now his entire organization knows what happens when someone makes that mistake. They'll think twice before trying it again. What did you do to him? Arya, tell me. If I'm going to be part of this, I need to know. Need to understand the man I'm choosing. His jaw clenched, but he told me. Baldini was alive, barely. Luca had made an example of his lieutenants, the ones who'd taken the photos, who'd followed me, who'd presented me as a target. They wouldn't be following anyone again. Baldini himself had been given a choice: leave the city, leave the business, disappear into whatever hole would take him, or end up like his men. He'd chosen to run. The photos? I asked, voice small. Destroyed. Every copy, every file, every trace that anyone ever looked at you that way. Luca's eyes were fierce. You're safe now. I made sure of it. I should have been horrified. Should have run from a man who could describe violence so clinically, who saw murder as problem-solving. Instead, I felt something twisted and complicated. Gratitude that he'd protected me. Horror at the cost. And underneath it all, a dark recognition that part of me was glad. Glad that the men who'd stalked me were gone. Glad that Luca had defended me with everything he had. I'm a terrible person, I said, laughing bitterly. Because part of me is grateful. Part of me is glad you did what you did. You're not terrible. You're human. He pulled me close, and I melted into him despite everything. This is survival, Arya. In my world, you protect what's yours or you lose it. There's no middle ground. We stood there in the safe house bedroom, clinging to each other like drowning people, and I made my choice. Not because it was right or safe or sane. But because walking away from Luca Santoro felt like cutting out my own heart. I loved him. Loved the man who bought me coffee and listened to me talk about art. Loved the man who held me like I was precious. And yes, loved the man who would kill to keep me safe. All of him, darkness included. Take me home, I said against his chest. The real home. Our home. He pulled back, searching my face. You're sure? No. But I'm choosing you anyway. Something shifted in his expression. Relief, maybe, or wonder that I hadn't run. This won't be the last time. There will be other threats, other dangers. Men in my position always have enemies. I know. But Luca, I met his eyes. You have to stop shutting me out. Stop making decisions about my safety without telling me what's happening. If we're partners, really partners, I need to be informed. Not after the fact, not when it's convenient. When there's a threat, you tell me. When you're in danger, you don't lie about where you're going. We face this together or not at all. Telling you puts you at risk, keeping me in the dark puts me at risk. I cut him off. If I don't know who to watch for, what to be careful of, how can I protect myself? How can I help you? You're not supposed to help me. You're supposed to be safe. I stopped being safe the moment I fell for you. My hands gripped his shirt. So stop trying to keep me in some bubble. Stop treating me like I'm too fragile for your world. I'm here. I'm in this. Let me actually be in it instead of just existing on the periphery. He studied me for a long moment, war playing across his features. Control versus trust. Protection versus partnership. Finally, slowly, he nodded. Okay. No more secrets. When there's a threat, you'll know. When I'm handling something dangerous, I'll tell you before I go. But Arya, his voice turned serious. That means you'll know things you can't unknow. You'll hear things that will change how you see me. Once you're really inside this world, there's no pretending it away. I don't want to pretend. I want the truth, all of it. Then you'll have it. He kissed me, sealing the promise. Starting now. There's a meeting tomorrow night. The heads of the other families, discussing territory and business. I want you there. Why? I don't know anything about, because they need to see you. Need to understand that you're not a weakness they can exploit. That you're my partner, under my protection, and touching you means war. His smile was sharp. And because I want them to see what I have. What I'm willing to destroy them all to keep. Fear and excitement warred in my chest. That sounds dangerous. It is. These are men who've killed for less than a perceived slight. Men who see kindness as weakness and love as a vulnerability. He tucked a strand of hair behind my ear. But they'll also see me at your side. See that I'm not afraid to claim you publicly. That alone will make most of them think twice about trying anything. And the ones who don't think twice? I'll handle them. Just like I handled Baldini. We left the safe house an hour later, driving through the empty city streets back to the penthouse. Luca kept his hand on my thigh the entire drive, grounding, possessive. When we finally walked through the door of our home, exhaustion hit me like a physical force. Shower, Luca said, guiding me toward the bedroom. Then sleep. Tomorrow's going to be intense. The hot water washed away the fear and tension, but couldn't touch the fundamental shift that had occurred. I'd crossed a line tonight. Accepted not just who Luca was, but what being with him meant. The violence, the danger, the moral compromises. I'd chosen it all, eyes open, and now there was no going back. When I emerged from the bathroom, Luca was already in bed, shirtless, the lamp casting shadows across his chest. I could see scars I'd never noticed before. Evidence of a life spent fighting, surviving, inflicting damage. He was beautiful and terrible and mine. I climbed in beside him, and he pulled me close, arranging me against his side like he couldn't bear any distance between us. "I love you," he said into the darkness. "I know I don't say it enough. But I need you to know. Everything I do, every choice I make, it's because losing you isn't an option I can survive. I love you too." The words were easier this time. "Even though you're impossible and controlling and dangerous. Especially because I'm those things." I could hear the smile in his voice. "Those are my best qualities. Your humility is astounding. One of my many charms." He kissed the top of my head. "Sleep, Bella. Tomorrow you enter my world for real. I need you rested and sharp." I closed my eyes, listening to his heartbeat beneath my ear, steady and strong. Tomorrow I'd meet the monsters who ran this city alongside Luca. Tomorrow I'd step fully into the darkness. But tonight, in his arms, I felt safe. Protected. Loved by a man who would wage war to keep me. It should have terrified me. Instead, it felt like coming home. The restaurant was closed to the public, but inside, power hummed like electricity through the air. 5 men sat around a table that had witnessed decades of deals, betrayals, and bloodshed. These were the heads of the families that controlled the city's underworld, and I was walking into their territory wearing Luca's diamond and his claim like armor. "Stay close," Luca murmured as we approached the private dining room. Matteo and 3 other guards flanked us, a show of force that said Luca wasn't taking chances. Don't speak unless spoken to directly. These men respect strength, but they'll interpret too much confidence as disrespect. My heart hammered against my ribs. What if they won't? His hand tightened on my back. Because they know what I'll do if they try. The conversation died the moment we entered. 5 pairs of eyes assessed me with varying degrees of interest and calculation. I recognized the type from months of observing Luca's world, men who saw everything as potential leverage, every person as either asset or liability. "Gentlemen," Luca greeted them, voice smooth as silk over steel. "Thank you for accommodating my request. I wanted you to meet someone important." "Your new weakness, you mean," one of them said. Silver-haired, cold eyes, smile that didn't reach past his teeth. "We heard about Baldini. Heard you dismantled half his operation over a woman." "Over someone threatening what's mine," Luca corrected, pulling out a chair for me. I sat, aware of how exposed I was. There's a difference. Baldini mistook protection for weakness. I trust none of you will make the same error. "She's very beautiful," another man observed, younger, with a scar bisecting his eyebrow. "I can see why you're willing to start wars over her." "I wouldn't start a war over her," Luca said pleasantly, sitting beside me. His hand found mine under the table, grip reassuring. "I'd end one. Quickly and decisively. Anyone who thinks otherwise is welcome to test that theory." The threat hung in the air, undisguised. The silver-haired man, I'd learned his name was Victor Castellano, leaned back in his chair, studying us. "You're breaking protocol, Santoro. We don't bring civilians into family business. We don't expose them to this world. It creates complications. Aria isn't a complication. She's my partner." Luca's voice was firm. "Which means she's under the same protection I am. Anyone who touches her touches me." Anyone who threatens her declares war on my entire organization. I'm making this clear now so there's no confusion later. And if she becomes a liability? Victor pressed. If someone uses her to get to you? If her presence makes you weak? Then I'll deal with it. Luca's eyes were ice. But that's my problem, not yours. I'm not here for your approval or your advice. I'm here as a courtesy, to inform you that Aria Moretti is off limits. Completely. Permanently. The use of his last name sent a shock through me. We weren't married, weren't even engaged, but he'd claimed me with his name in front of the most dangerous men in the city. Declared me family. Made me untouchable. The dinner that followed was tense, every course served with undercurrents of threat and assessment. The men spoke in code about territories and percentages, shipments and enforcement. I stayed quiet, observing, learning the hierarchy. Victor was clearly the most powerful after Luca. The scarred man, Antonio, was unpredictable, dangerous in a way that made even the others cautious. The remaining three were younger, hungrier, looking for opportunities to expand their influence. Halfway through the meal, Antonio addressed me directly. Miss Moretti, do you understand what you've gotten yourself into? The life your boyfriend is offering you? I understand enough, I said carefully. I know it's dangerous. I know there are consequences. Consequences. He laughed, sharp and bitter. Diplomatic word for watching people die, for living with guards, for never knowing if today's the day someone decides you're worth kidnapping. My wife lasted 6 months before she left. Took our daughter and disappeared. Haven't seen either of them in 3 years. I'm sorry, I said, meaning it. Don't be. She was smart to run. His eyes met Luca's. Unlike some people, she recognized a cage when she saw one. Aria isn't caged, Luca said quietly. She's protected. There's a difference. Is there? Because from where I'm sitting, she can't go anywhere without guards, can't make decisions without considering how it affects your organization, can't have a normal life. That sounds like a cage to me. The words hit harder than they should have, resonating with fears I'd been suppressing. Was I free, or had I just traded one kind of powerlessness for another? Before I could spiral, Luca's thumb traced circles on my palm, grounding me. I chose this, I said, voice steady. I know what I'm giving up. I also know what I'm gaining. A partner who would die to protect me. Who values me enough to bring me here, to make me visible to all of you despite the risk. That's not a cage. That's love. Silence. Then Victor laughed, genuinely this time. She's got fire, Santoro. I'll give you that. Maybe she will survive this life. The meeting ended an hour later with grudging acceptance from the other families. They wouldn't move against me directly, wouldn't see me as easy leverage. But I'd also seen the calculation in their eyes, the mental notes being made. They'd test Luca eventually, probe for weaknesses, and I would always be the most obvious one. In the car afterward, exhaustion crashed over me. That was terrifying. You did well. Luca pulled me close. Victor respected you. That's more than I expected. Antonio hates you. Antonio hates everyone. His bitterness makes him dangerous but predictable. He kissed my temple. Don't worry about him. Worry about Victor. Always being the weakness someone could exploit. Or my greatest strength. His arms tightened around me. You make me want to build something better. Want to find ways out of this life that don't end with me in prison or dead. Before you, I accepted that both were inevitable. Now I think maybe there's another ending. Hope flickered in my chest. What kind of ending? The kind where we both survive. Where I transition the legitimate businesses into something clean, step back from the violence, give someone else the burden of running things. He pulled back to look at me. It'll take years. Maybe a decade. But if it means keeping you, growing old with you, having a life that isn't just survival, it's worth it. You'd really do that? Walk away from this world? For you? I'd do anything. His kiss was gentle, full of promise. I'm not saying it'll be easy or fast. There are obligations, responsibilities, people depending on me. But I can start moving pieces into place. Start creating an exit strategy. If you're willing to wait, willing to endure the danger until I can extract us both, I'll wait, I interrupted. However long it takes. As long as we're working towards something better, toward a future that isn't just violence and fear. Then we have a deal. His smile was soft, so different from the cold mask he'd worn at dinner. Partners, remember? We faced this together. The next 6 months were the hardest of my life. Luca started delegating more, bringing in trusted people to handle operations he'd previously overseen himself. He legitimized businesses where he could, distanced himself from the most illegal activities, began the slow process of extracting himself from the web he'd spent years building. But every step toward freedom brought resistance. People who didn't want change, who saw his transition as weakness, who thought a gentler Luca Santoro was one they could challenge. We survived 2 more attempts on my life, one a car bomb that Matteo detected before it detonated, another a staged mugging that turned into a shootout. Each incident left me shaken but more determined. I wasn't running. Wasn't abandoning Luca to face this alone. We'd made promises, and I intended to keep them. I also learned to exist in his world more comfortably. Learned which families could be trusted, which required constant vigilance. Learned to read the undercurrents in conversations, to spot threats before they materialized. Luca taught me to shoot, insisted I carry a weapon, made sure I understood basic defensive tactics. It was grim education, but necessary. You're not the same woman I met at that fundraiser, he observed one night as we lay in bed, my head on his chest. You've become harder. Sharper. Is that bad? No. It's survival. His fingers traced patterns on my shoulder. But I miss your softness sometimes. Miss the way you used to look at the world like it was full of possibility instead of danger. I can still see possibility, I said quietly. I see it in you. In us. In the future we're building. I propped myself up to look at him. You're not the same either. You smile more. Laugh. You came to my art show last week and actually looked at the paintings instead of scanning for threats the entire time. I still scanned for threats. But you also looked at the art. I kissed him softly. We're changing each other. Maybe not in ways we expected, but in ways we need. You're teaching me to be stronger. I'm teaching you to be softer. That's what love does. I like this version of love, he murmured against my lips. Even if it's complicated and dangerous and nothing like I planned. Who needs plans when you have this? Us. This partnership. This messy, beautiful, terrifying thing we've built. His answer was to kiss me deeply, rolling me beneath him, showing me without words how much I meant to him. Later, wrapped in sheets and each other, he said something that changed everything. Marry me. I froze. What? Marry me, Arya. He pulled back to look at me, completely serious. Not for show, not for protection, not because it's strategic. Marry me because I love you. Because I want you beside me for whatever life we manage to carve out of this chaos. Because calling you my girlfriend doesn't capture even a fraction of what you are to me. Luca, I know the timing is terrible. I know we're in the middle of transitioning, that things are dangerous and uncertain. But that's exactly why I'm asking. Because life is uncertain. Because I could die tomorrow, or you could, and I don't want to waste another day not being married to you. Not making it permanent. Tears blurred my vision. You're serious. Completely. He reached into the nightstand, pulled out a box I hadn't known was there. Inside was a ring that took my breath away. A diamond surrounded by sapphires, the blue stones matching the necklace Julian had given me all those months ago. I had it custom made. Diamonds for the woman you are, strong, brilliant, unbreakable. Sapphires for the woman you were when I met you, soft, hopeful, full of color. Both versions matter. Both are you. It's perfect. I was crying now, unable to stop. You're perfect. This is perfect. Is that a yes? Yes. God, yes. I'll marry you, Luca Santoro. I kissed him through my tears. Despite the danger and the complications and the fact that your world terrifies me. I'll marry you and spend the rest of my life trying to survive it beside you. He slipped the ring onto my finger, and it fit perfectly. Of course it did. Luca didn't do anything unless it was exactly right. We made love again, slower this time, both aware that we'd crossed another threshold. Changed the terms of our relationship again, this time with vows we'd actually mean. We married a month later in the penthouse, surrounded by family, his family, because mine was small and I couldn't risk exposing my mother to this world. The ceremony was simple, the vows traditional, but the emotion was overwhelming. When Luca promised to love and protect me until death, his voice broke. When I promised to stand beside him through everything, I meant it down to my bones. Victor attended, along with Antonio and the other family heads. A show of respect, Luca explained. They needed to see us united, see that this wasn't just a business arrangement but something real. Something worth respecting. You look happy, Victor told me at the reception. That's rare in our world. Usually, we marry for alliances, for advantage. Love is a luxury most of us can't afford. Then you're all fools, I said, emboldened by champagne and joy. Love is the only thing that makes this life worth living. The only thing that balances the darkness. He studied me with those cold eyes, then smiled. Maybe you're right. Maybe Santoro's found something the rest of us missed. I hope so. You're both better people than most I know. You deserve happiness, even if it's brief. The words should have been ominous, but I refused to let them dim my joy. Tonight was perfect. Tonight was ours. Whatever came tomorrow, we'd face it together. 2 years later, I stood in our new home, a house outside the city, surrounded by land and security but also by normalcy. Luca had done it. Had extracted us from the worst of his world, delegated operations to people he trusted, legitimized enough of his businesses that we weren't constantly looking over our shoulders. We still had guards. Still had enemies who hadn't forgotten or forgiven. You're thinking too hard, Luca said, wrapping his arms around me from behind. We stood in our kitchen, sun streaming through windows that didn't need bulletproof glass, watching birds in the yard. Just remembering, I said, leaning into him. The gallery opening. The necklace. How jealous you were. I wasn't jealous. You were absolutely jealous. Possessive and jealous and ready to murder Julian for giving me jewelry. He was trying to steal you. He gave me a necklace. You gave me a life. I turned in his arms. This life. This peace. This future we're building where maybe our children won't grow up surrounded by violence. His eyes widened. Children? Are you? Not yet. But maybe soon. I searched his face. If you want that. If you think we're ready. I'm terrified, he admitted. Terrified of bringing kids into a world where I have enemies. Where my past could haunt them. Where loving me puts them at risk. Your past made you who you are. The man I love. The man who fought for this peace. My hands framed his face. Our children will be protected, loved, taught to be strong. They'll know their father was complicated but good. That he did terrible things to create something beautiful. That's enough, Luca. That's more than enough. You're sure? I've never been more sure of anything. I kissed him softly. Except maybe saying yes to you. To this life. To all of it. He held me close, and I felt his heart racing beneath my palm. This man who'd killed to protect me, who'd dismantled his empire to give me safety, who loved me enough to change everything about his life. My husband. My partner. My choice. I love you, he whispered. More than I thought I was capable of loving anything. You saved me, Arya. From a life that was just darkness and violence and survival. You gave me something to actually live for. You saved me too. From poverty and invisibility and a future with no hope. I pulled back to look at him. We saved each other. That's what love does. That's what makes it worth the cost. Through the window, I could see Matteo patrolling the perimeter. Could see the security cameras monitoring every approach. Reminders that we'd never be completely free of Luca's past. But we were free enough. Had carved out this space where love was possible, where hope existed, where our future wasn't predetermined by violence. What are you thinking about? Luca asked, following my gaze. That jealous man who threatened to throw someone off a terrace because they gave me jewelry. I smiled. How he became this man who makes me coffee and talks about having children and actually knows how to use the dishwasher. I still don't like other men giving you jewelry. Good thing I'm married now. Complete with a ring that makes every other piece of jewelry look sad in comparison. I held up my hand, watching the diamonds and sapphires catch the light. Your mark. Your claim. Exactly what I wanted, even if I didn't know it at the time. No regrets? Not one. I kissed him, pouring everything into it. Not the danger, not the fear, not the compromises. Because all of it led here. To this. To us. We stood in our kitchen, holding each other as sun streamed through windows and peace settled around us like a blanket. The journey had been dark and dangerous. The cost had been high. But we'd survived. Had found love in the unlikeliest place, between the most unlikely people. A struggling artist and a mafia boss, bound together by jealousy that became protection that became partnership that became love. And in the end, that love had transformed us both. Had pulled us from our separate darknesses into something brighter. Something worth fighting for. Something worth the price we'd paid. Our story started with a necklace and a jealous question. It became something neither of us expected, a love story written in the margins of violence, a partnership forged in danger, a future carved from impossible odds. We'd broken rules, crossed lines, made choices that should have destroyed us. Instead, they'd made us. Made us stronger together than we ever could have been apart. The mafia world still existed around us. Threats still lurked in shadows. But inside our home, inside our marriage, inside the life we'd fought so hard to build, there was only love. Complicated, messy, hard-won love. And that was everything. That was worth it all. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you loved this story, check out the other videos on your screen now. I think you'll really enjoy them. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. See you in the next story.